to our third and last event of our unemployment series. Today we'll be providing more of solutions. We have amazing guest speakers from G4g mentorship and also speakers from IRI. So I'll just introduce speakers as we go and take questions after each speaker has spoken. I think that will do. So without any delays, I'll first introduce our first speaker. We have Safura Araf. She is the member and founder of Kickstart Solution, and she's also a G4g mentor, and she'll be sharing her knowledge on businesses one can start to employ themselves and others, and also the challenges that she has faced as a business woman herself, as well as how she managed to overcome those challenges. I think, Safura, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I hope everybody can hear me, and I hope my connection stays stable. Welcome, everybody. As you may know, my name is Safura Araf. I own and manage my own business since 2008. When I started my business, I was working a full-time job. I had to run my business and take care of my job, being a mother. So there were many aspects, and I did not stop running my business. When I started the business, I did not know that, entrepreneurship, whether it was for me or not. But all I knew is that I was a leader. And with the confidence and the abilities, I knew that, no matter what, it could work. So in G4g, we have a saying. We have a saying called do it afraid. And I believe that I did it afraid. I started this business being afraid, and 13 years later, it's still going strong. And, I'm very proud of what I've built up and what I have so far. So, that is one bit of advice I could give to you, is do it afraid. So I just want to tell you a bit about myself and why I joined G4g. So basically, as a toddler, I watched my mom. She was my role model, and she was this woman who was always cooking, cleaning, working full time, and wrestling off my uncles. And the most notable for me was when she single-handedly ensured that the little shack that we were living in, she made sure that she turned that into a 3-bedroom or a 3-room brick house. And it was all on her own. So, I always look to my mother for strength and her resilience. And, I hope that I can be as much of a person that she is. She has so much of determination and wisdom that, I guess all of us see that in our mother. So out of 3 siblings, I was the only one who actually finished school and attended a university. So for me, I feel that it's quite an achievement because we didn't have mentors, we didn't have anyone to guide us. And, I still managed to stand up and do it afraid. So if there's one thing I can say is that most of the time we don't actually realize how much we do afraid, and we do it well. So when I was a mother, I completed my second qualification, my diploma, and that's another piece of advice that I want to give to you is that education never ends. We can be age. There's no end to learning. There's no age limit. And the cliche, knowledge is power, that should never be taken lightly, because the more knowledge you hold, the more power you have. Due to my constant learning and acquisition of skills, I was able to run my business and also work in different sectors. So I just did not stick to the degree that I have or the diploma I have. In any environment that I was placed, I was able to acquire skills by just learning. So at the moment, I can work in the property sector, accounting, finance. I moderate papers for examinations. I'm an invigilator. I work closely with CISOs. So just because we hold a certain qualification, that does not mean we should limit ourselves. We should always be constantly acquiring new skills. And these days, it's very important to have skills. And the most important that any industry looks for is communication skills, computer skills, and anything that may be required. So in terms of challenges, in any business or anything that you do, there are constant challenges. And challenges will always be there. It will not go away. But it depends on you as a person. How do you stand up from those challenges? Do you just lay down and say, I am done? This has got me now? Or do you stand up? Because in life for me, I've never had the opportunity to just lay down. I've always had to stand up, no matter what. There was no one by my side up to this day that would say to me, you know what, I've got this. You can take the place. I've never had that, and I don't think that will ever happen. So remember that challenges exist no matter what. It is just a matter of how you deal with it and how it strengthens you, because that's what it does. It makes you stronger, especially as a female. So another challenge, one of the challenges that I have as an entrepreneur is I made a decision that I would run my business from home. So I have 3 kids and I have to allocate time to my kids and my business. So that is quite challenging because you want to be there for your child, but also you have deadlines to meet and you have priorities in your business. So finding the right balance is very important. Another challenge that I found is that being female and being a woman of color, that is one of the biggest challenges that I face in my business. I've had clients literally look at me and say no thank you, without giving an explanation. For me, it's either that they felt that I looked young or I was not experienced enough, or they thought that I wasn't experienced enough, or maybe they thought I wasn't capable. But I mean, I've had those people look at me and do. So, as I said, there's challenges all over, and it's never going to go away. So don't feel that you in any environment you are going through something that nobody else is. It does exist, and trust me, it will always be there. And then, as I said, communication skills, computer skills, and for me, another important skill is knowledge gathering skills. So I happened to acquire, positions in companies as an independent contractor. And these were very different industries to what I was used to. And what I did was I embraced it and I made sure that I gather as much information and acquired as much knowledge as possible. And this means teaching yourself. Nobody is going to sit down and teach you anything. You have to take the initiative upon yourself to make sure that you learn what you can. And it does not leave you. That education, that knowledge does not leave you. It stays with you. So that is very important, is how you perceive the industry you're in or perceive the environment you're in, and then what you will do with it and how you will take it to the future. Every sector that we know of today requires computer skills. This is not difficult to get. There's lots of NGOs offering it. There's a lot of free courses. That is very important to have. And in terms of communication skills, if there's any ladies here that feel that they don't have enough communication skills, I am a communications moderator. I can assist you with that. I don't have a problem. It is very important that you are able to communicate effectively in any business environment. Um, so, a simple thing like sending out an email. There's lots of people that don't know that sending out an email in all capital letters means that you are streaming at the person. If I've seen a manager, CEO send out emails like that, and for me, I just feel that unprofessional. Um, so I just want to highlight. Um, yeah, I just want to highlight that knowledge gathering skills, that is very important. And, as I said, you will never not need the information that you gather throughout your years or the knowledge that you gather throughout your years. Um, so in terms of personal branding and the types of the type of businesses that you can enter. As I said, it doesn't have to stick to what your qualification is. It really depends what your qualification is and how you enter into different industries and sectors and what you make of it. You don't need to stop learning and acquiring all of those knowledge and skills. Um, so my advice would be that no matter what you are faced with, um, there's no reason to give up. There's always a solution. Always. If you remain positive, if you remain, if you persevere, there's no chance of failure. And even if there's failure, there's always a reason for that failure. So there's no reason to give up. As I said, I've been in my business for 13 years, and I've had my husband tell me that I should not start my business, and he didn't believe in me. There was no motivation from his side. For my husband, he believes that working a full-time job is worthless, and there's many people that believe that. And for us as females, we need to realize that um, we are able to do anything, accomplish anything. There's no limit for us, and we live in such a male-dominated world, and there's always going to be a naysayer. And but what you have to do is do it afraid and believe in yourself, and that is the best that you give up. And whatever you put out is what you get back in. So remember, if you stay positive and stay firm in what you want to achieve, trust me, you will always succeed. So I hope that I was able to give you enough information as to, how I perceive things or, as an entrepreneur. Is there anything else in terms of questions that anybody would like to ask?
Thank you, Safura, for that. If there's anyone with a question, you can just raise your hand or text in the text box. That was really informative, and thank you for that. I've learned that, yeah, there is no reason to give up. Aga, you can ask your question.
Hi, Safura. First of all, thank you for coming in this morning. We really, really appreciate it. You spoke about the challenges you've had from other men, but what about the challenges you might face from women who still believe that we're each other's enemies and that we need to pull each other down in order for one of us to get to where everybody wants to be? Oh, I think you're muted.
My apologies. So that is a good question. So in life, as I said, there's always going to be naysayers, and that never ends. So people that there's always people that feel that you are not good enough, or you know, as a woman, they view you as a person that will, you know, will not make it. Well, in my life, I have a lot of that in around me, you know, in family, in friends, not so much in friends, but family. But um, I remain humble, you know. I feel that I don't need to prove myself to anybody, you know. I've always been like that, you know, and I just prove myself in my work, you know. So I go on to keep on educating myself. I go on to keep on acquiring new skills. You know, most of the people in my family don't know what I do, or you know, um, so they always view me as a person that you know, she's, you know, she's, for me, I feel like she's not worth anything, you know, so that's what they view me as. And I've always remained humble throughout. You know, I've never actually found the need to, you know, prove anything to anyone. So even with the people that have said that, you know, you won't make it, you know, I'm still in my business for 13 years. And with COVID has hit hard, and you know, many of us in our businesses have not been doing well. But I must say that, you know, it's my resilience, it's a lot of people's resilience in their businesses that have kept them strong. And you know, you just have to keep on going, you know. And also, we don't have the answers to everything. Just remember that. So we learn as we go along. I hope I've answered your question, though.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else with any questions? Betty, I think you're on mute. Betty, you're on mute.
Oh, yes. I didn't realize. Okay, if there's no one else with a question, Val, you had your hand up. Do you have any question?
No, that's a mistake. Sorry, I didn't realize I put my hand up. Apologies.
No problem. No problem. Thank you for that, Safura. I think we can move on to our next speaker. Okay, on the next issue, mostly when people are unemployed, they tend to see volunteerism work as a burden. You're not even getting paid. They feel like it's a waste of time, which brings us to our next speaker. We've got Val. She's an operation manager at Adapt IT. She's a director and she's a director and mentor at G4g, and she'll be taking on the importance of volunteerism work. Val, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for the invitation today. I think I'm going to tell a little bit of the story first. In November 2019, I decided to leave corporate and go and see what I could do in the world. I had traveled a journey and it was time. And so I gave 3 months notice, thinking that I would give him enough time, and then, you know, it would be good. And I started looking for other positions, and then I got 2 offers, and then a small thing called COVID-19 arrived, and boom, suddenly I was unemployed. Unfortunately, the offers had to be rescinded because people could not employ at that stage. it was quite an interesting time. I had left jobs before without having work to go to. But this was the first time where I realized, and initially, of course, none of us realized that it was going to be carrying on for a while. So for 6 months, I had no work. And what I found is that I started doing a bit of a journey, because I think as people, we often define ourselves in our work, right? If you do have a career, it tends to become who you are and what you're about. But I actually had time to reflect about who I am and what I am outside of work. And I want you to think about unemployment as something, as a time where you can actually find who you are and find what you're about. So what did I do during those 6 months? I started my own foundation. What happened is I started looking around and seeing what was happening with COVID, and I was so shocked and devastated by what was happening to people all around that I couldn't bear to not try and do something about it. So I started my own foundation called the Sakela Foundation, and we basically support and sustain local communities where we can through the COVID crisis. And then, of course, thank goodness I had Girls for Girls. And because I wasn't working, I could step up and help Rita as much as possible. And we started setting up the systems and getting Girls for Girls South Africa up and going. And I was so grateful to have that time and that opportunity, because I care about Girls for Girls so much. And there's so much about, it was an opportunity for me to really apply myself and give something back there. And what I found is that what was so interesting is that because this happened, lockdown flew past for me. I was more busy than what I would be normally. And then by the time the lockdown started being lifted, through some connections, through all the work I'd been doing, I was able to secure my dream job. And I was able to now do what I'm doing. I'm working for African Leadership Academy, building helping promote and build young future leaders for Africa. And it was all through actually having been unemployed. And I just want to share some slides and some ideas about what one can think about if you want to volunteer and why one should volunteer. Just give me a moment, please. So many great things have been said by many people about why one should volunteer. And I think, you know, people who have been and done great things in their life have always realized that by actually giving back and by actually getting involved in other people's lives, you can actually make a difference in the world. And what we find when doing this is that you actually can slowly but surely find what the things are that you care about. And how do you start? How do you start thinking about it? And when you're thinking about volunteerism, I want you to think about, what do you love? Okay, what is the thing that you care about? Looking around you, you know, are there children that you're worried about? Are there elderly people that you worry about? Are there things happening in your community that are concerning you? You know, is there something that you could do to actually fix that? So look around, like everywhere, and especially right now, there are needs. Okay, people need help. And it doesn't have to be a huge project, right? You don't have to go off and like save the world all in one day. It can be a small thing, like just keeping it simple by maybe helping moms who are looking for work look after their kids so that they can go and maybe do work in the morning or something like that, and you can then look after their kids. It could be as simple as helping kids, you know, learn to read, or helping elderly people who might not be able to read, help them learning to read. What I suggest you do is you ask your community, ask your network. There are needs all around. Other people might be interested in doing something similar, and then you can actually partner up and do things for good. And then there's the other opportunities. You could actually travel and do volunteerism. There are organizations all over the world that actually are looking for people who will come and help build schools, help build houses, you know, teach, whatever it may be. There are actually organizations that you can look for that could help you, you know, travel around Africa or travel around the world or travel around South Africa, making a difference and actually giving back. So who can you help? People, children, animals. You know, there's climate change initiatives. There's how do we save, you know, nature. There's wildlife initiatives. There are so many things you could get involved in. And what sort of organizations? It's charities, foundations, volunteer organizations, orphanages, trusts, schools, community projects, NGOs, and then climate change initiatives. Or you could do what I do and start your own. And it doesn't take much, really. It's quite a simple process, and it's just about actually looking around yourself and keeping your eyes open. So what could you do? What are some ideas that you could think about, right? I've mentioned some of them already, but they are things like soup kitchens, food parcels, sanitary towels. I mean, right now, those are some critical needs for people who are really struggling and who really do not have money right now. There's tutoring, there's mentoring, there's coaching. There are always young students, young kids who are looking for guidance or help. They might be, you might be good at a subject that they might need help in. See what you are doing that you can actually, help in that way. You could help build houses. You could help paint houses. You could connect clothes. You could donate blankets, collect, do blanket connections. Sorry, I'm struggling to speak. You could teach a skill. There are old age homes who are always looking for people to come and read to the elderly, or just to have a conversation with. There are some people who are stuck in old age homes who don't have anyone coming to visit them or care for them because their families have abandoned them. They would love to have someone come and just chat to them and have a conversation. There's areas you can do cleanups of communities or parks and things like that. There's food gardens. You could actually grow food and sell food. There GBV, gender-based violence initiatives you could get involved in. There's nursing, counseling. If you are at work, there's normally a CSI initiative that you can get involved in. There are people who are looking for, help. So you could be someone's buddy in terms of maybe going shopping for them if they can't move or if they can't get out of their house. Could you possibly run some errands for them? Could be your neighbor, next door neighbor, for all you know, who might be an elderly person who can't walk or do something like that. Look around and see how you can assist in that way. And then, of course, there's always CVs or career coaching, helping people prep for interviews, and computer skills. If you have good computer skills, help people who have not had exposure to computer skills. Teach them how to use the internet, how to look for jobs, or how to grow their skills in that regard. And then some organizations, and are so many, guys, really you just have to do a search. There's For Good, which actually allows people to, you can actually sign up, and they will offer, when they're looking for people, they will actually send emails saying we need people to do this, this and that. There's Habitat for Humanity, and they are basically looking for people to help them build houses and the communities. There's CARE, there's SPCA, Lifeline, Catch a Fire, SACOB, Reach for a Dream. These are just some well-known ones. There are hundreds and hundreds of smaller organizations. I mean, even us at Sakela Foundation, we're always looking for people to come help us, take part in initiatives when we are doing things. But lastly, and the most importantly, why would you want to do this? Okay, there are a number of different reasons. First of all, when you're unemployed, it's really easy to get depressed and to be down and to not do anything, right? And one of the best things you can do is actually get up and get out. And so getting involved in something like this keeps you busy. And it also it stops you from thinking about negative thoughts, and actually helps you keep your mind active in a positive way. And it builds dopamine, right? It creates positive feelings. So it helps put any sort of depression or any negative thoughts at bay. Secondly, it's networking, okay? If you go out there and you start meeting people, you never know when there could be an opportunity. You never know who you could meet, who could help you get a job, or could help you do something in the business, or who at a later stage, because you were doing this, would then recommend you for something because they saw how well you were working in that environment. So there's an incredible networking opportunity here, and I can recommend this because it happened with me. Because I've been helping Rita with G4g, she gave me the most incredible reference, and that was one of the things that helped me get my job at African Leadership Academy. So just getting out there and doing something and showing your work ethic will help, could possibly lead to a great reference. Okay, doing things, build skills for your CV. It's great to put these things on your skills on your CV. That you started something, that you led this initiative, that you showed leadership, that you stepped up. And then also, there are two really, really important things. You can discover who you are. In doing these things, there's an element of self-discovery. And maybe as you're doing it, you'll start to find the things that you really love, and it can help you find your own personal mission. of course, it makes a difference in other people's lives. There's no, I mean, that doesn't, you know, that's the benefit. And it makes you feel good, right? It really, really does. And I honestly believe is what you give in the world is what you get out of it, right? And the more you are giving, the more that will come back to you. And lastly, but not least, as Girls for Girls, we really believe in the G4g mission of giving back and stepping up into your space where you can make a difference. Ladies, there are so many opportunities out there and so many people who need help. Don't miss out on an opportunity to actually make a difference in the world. Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing now. And if anyone has any questions, I'm willing to take them. Doesn't look like any questions. Great. Thank you very much, everyone. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Val. You really took volunteerism into a whole new level. And my apologies for getting your current occupation wrong. Yeah.
No problem at all.
Thank you, Val, for that. Moving to our next speaker, we've got Wipiso Mashigo. She'll be talking about the aspect of utilizing your qualification to apply for position. She came with this idea, so I felt like there's no one who can explain it as she would. Wipiso, you can take it away.
Thank you, Preeti. Hello, everyone. Good to be with you in this virtual platform. At least we can still connect, even though we're going through a pandemic. I think telling my story is the only way to make sense of it. In 2011, September, I resigned from the Department of Social Work, Department of Social Development in Gqeberha, what we used to call Port Elizabeth. I was the community development manager for the district. And then I started consulting my village and sharing my vision and what is it that I wanted to do now that I'm unemployed. The good thing also came is that I had more time for my kids, so I was stay-home mom, and I ended up knowing all the kids in my youngest daughter's class because I would drop her at school, and I started, like Val said, volunteering. They had a session in the morning when the kids came. It was grade areas. When the kids came in the morning, they would do puzzles. So parents were encouraged to sit in with their kids and help with the puzzles. Then I realized that some of the children didn't have anyone to help them because now the parents had to drop them and rush to work. And I had all the time in the world to do that. So I ended up staying in with the teacher and helping out with the puzzles and the ones that were struggling. And it boosted their confidence because now they were given awards, you know, like you get a star, you move up the level, then you move from a basic puzzle and then you move to the next level. And then they were happy to have at least somebody helping and them moving up, because now of this also, you know, them moving the levels and seeing that they can. So I did that, and after that I would just go for my exercise and come back. Whilst doing that, I started putting plans together. Like I said, I consulted with my village and shared what I wanted to do. And I was referred to Auntie Ronelle, may her soul rest in peace. She passed on last year. And she took me in. She's in the training business, and she took me in as her mentee. And I was happy because that is also what I used to do, that even if you are in that field, you need to share the information, because there are other people who think, oh, this is competition, why should I mentor this person? But she didn't. She just took me in and she mentored me. My background is social work, and I wanted to go into training because that's what I enjoyed when I was working, training the beneficiaries and also arranging training for my colleagues and also taking up positions in the office, like being an MC, facilitating sessions, strategic sessions, and that's how I grew this passion. So as I was going through my documents, I found the document that I did with her in December 2011, where the mentorship started taking shape, and we wanted to see what is it that we wanted to do. So one of the things that happened was that as I was going on and trying to set up my training company, then she said to me, I just want to share the document with you as I'm speaking to you. As we were going through that, she indicated to say, okay, these are the things that you needed to do. And one of the things was that I needed to check what do I have as to help me to go into training. So when I left school, unfortunately, I didn't get work. So one of the things that I did was to register with UNISA and did a 1 year, I can't find the document, and did a 1 year certificate with UNISA on HR, human resources. And it was 1995. And 1996, I got work, started work in May. So I continued with the training. Then I did another training called training for ETDP, education and training for education development for and training for practitioners in the training field. I just forgot the correct term. I know it's ETDP, yeah, education and training certificate. So as we were going through this mentoring, and that's one thing that I also want to encourage you, that you need to get a mentor that can guide you in terms of how to go about this. So we agreed, okay, this is what needs to happen. You will put together and see what is it that you have. And I said, okay, then probably I will need a certificate in training. I will also need to go and maybe she said, okay, you can also do assess. And then she said, okay, submit everything to me. So I gave her my CV, I indicated what training. And in one of the sessions as we were speaking, and she was asking, why do you need to do a training certificate? And I said to her, but I'm getting into training, so I would need to have a certificate. And she looked at me and she said, but you have already done it. And I was taking a break and I said, how? And she said, look at your certificate. You did an HR certificate. And one of your modules was training and development. Ooh, okay. And didn't you say you also did specifically a training on a certificate on training, which includes curriculum development, how to conduct training? And I remember one of the things that we had to do, it was a practical. So you had to facilitate training and submit a tape to the lecturer. So that formed 50% of the training where you were facilitating. And she said to me, but you have done that. You don't need another certificate because you already have it. And also your social work training assisted you. And that's where it all came in to say, when you have the qualifications, you also need to take a closer look on what you have and that can assist you. So it meant I could have done another job besides social work because I had the training. And that's what I've been encouraging people to do, to say, look at what you have. I know of people who have qualified as social workers, but now are in HR because it's all about people management. And that's how they got into the field, especially at entry level, because they don't need experience. So they train you, and people are not trained on papers how to complete a document and things like that. You get a generic training, and when you get employed, that's when they now train you on the systems that they are working on. And that's why when you move to another level, to the next level, which is senior, they will say, okay, we need training on specifics. And that's where you would have had it. But when you get into entry jobs, you get trained on the actual. So with us in social work, how to complete an assessment, how to do intake and things like that. We get a generic training in school, and then as you go into the workplace, then they hone their skills in terms of what you need to do. We know of people who are like, if you are a pharmacist and you can't find work, you look at what is it that I can do. You become a locum. The other thing is to research. You research and see what is there, what is available. Like Val said, you can volunteer. So most doctors, pharmacists, and other people who are running their practices, lawyers, weekends, they want their time. And holidays, they want to spend their time. So they would advertise and say, okay, we need somebody who can come and stand in. So you'll find that when you go in weekend, your doctor is not there, somebody. So you use those skills that you have to venture into other fields, maybe other than what you have been trained on, but you have the skill. We have a guy who was doing IT, but his qualifications, the degree was not IT, but he did IT as a module, and he flourished. He got further training in the field of IT, and he became an expert in training. So when you had issues, you can go to that person. So when Priti was suggesting that we do something like this, I was thinking, let me share my story, because that's where it came. The idea came from, to say you need to look beyond and say, I'm a qualified, I don't want to give my profession as an example, because I've always used it, but what can I say? Yeah, maybe HR, but because HR is all about managing people. And now you are thinking, I cannot do anything outside HR. Other people started as packers, but then they share their stories and say, but I have a qualification in this. And then when opportunities come and you do well, the manager can recommend you and say, you know what, we have an opportunity, do you want to apply? I went the other day to buy flowers. Plants. And when I got there, the guy who helped me, the ones that put your plants on a trolley and then take them for you to pay, and then they take to the car. I was surprised as we were putting things in my car. He told me that he has a degree. I think he also has a master's in either horticulture, but something to do with plants. And you can imagine that person is working and trying to help me, because how I came up to realize that, no, this one is not really doing what's supposed to do. He was saying, he doesn't understand, he hasn't gone to school, but then he was able to write my things clearly, and then he did the calculations even without a calculator. And I was saying, for somebody who's uneducated, you have done your maths correctly. And he started laughing, and that's when he told me that in actual fact, he's qualified in the work that, but unfortunately, because there are lack of jobs and he's from another country and he needs to feed his family, he decided to go and work. And as he's sharing his story, hopefully one day somebody else can employ him in the work that he has been trained on. And I think we are all encouraging to say, do something with your life. Don't just sit and say, I'm a qualified social worker, so I cannot go and be an administrator. We have somebody else who is a qualified social worker. He did well in his work. And when an opportunity came, the organization called him because they were impressed with his conduct. And they said, we don't have a social work post, but we have an administrator's post. He took it on. And as we speak now, he's managing the same organization that he did his practicals at. And it's because of his attitude, I think, resilience, and also the fact that I want to gain. And I said, you know what, it's good that you accepted the first job, because you are gaining workplace experience, which will give you an edge over the other people. So even when you go and apply for jobs at other organizations, then you have that experience, and that's what they want. So please look into your qualifications, see where else can you use them. The job that you are looking for, that you say I'm qualified for, will follow you. If not, you might even find happiness in the work that you will be doing, and probably using the same skills that you learned at university. So I think I have shared my story pretty. I'm going to stop here and wait for questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for that. I think with what you have said, I might know someone who's sitting with their qualifications, yet they can do something about it. Thank you for that. That was very informative. Is there anyone with a question?
I saw a hand somewhere. It disappeared. Or they can write on the chat box, then we can respond there.
Yes, or at the end, it's okay.
Time. Yeah.
Okay. Now moving on to our next speakers. I believe now it's time for us to hear some amazing stories. We've got Kristen, Kyle, and Gift from IRR. They will be taking us through their experiences in what? They'll be talking about their first time at work, was their expectation versus reality, and also their experiences, how they've adjusted compared to the first few days at work. Because personally, I also think, okay, when I get employed, I'm just gonna do what I learned in university, and then at the end of the month, get paid. So I guess they will just clarify with that. Kristen, you can go first.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So
Yes.
hi, I'm Kristen. I thought I'd just start off with giving you a bit of a background on myself, who I am, where I come from, etc. So I'm a Cape Town girl, born and raised. I've lived here my whole life. I went to Waiма Girls High School and junior school, actually. I've actually been at a girls' school for most of my life, from grade 1 to matric. And I really liked it there. I feel like it made me into a very well-rounded person. At Weinberg, they have 4 pillars, and they encourage you to take part in all of those pillars. So they have academics, sport, culture, and outreach. And the type of person I am, I'm very high energy. I love to be active, love trying new things, love getting involved. So I really took advantage of all my school had to offer and got involved in stage productions, the orchestra, flute ensemble, science fair occasions team, and was part of many outreach programs. I also tried every sport my school had to offer for at least a term, and then eventually decided that sport's not for me. I have zero hand-eye coordination, so that didn't work out. But it carried over into my personality today, and the type of person I am. As I said, I always like being active, always on the move. I enjoy spending time with friends and family. I like hiking, camping, being outdoors. So yeah, that's just a little bit of background, quick introduction to me and who I am. Then just moving on to my career and how I got to the point where I am today. So in matric, I decided that I was going to study further, but I didn't know what faculty to go into. So for me at that time, it was a very challenging and stressful situation for me. I tend to have an overactive brain, so I overthink everything, which can make it quite hard for me to make decisions sometimes. So it's a blessing and a curse, because I'm always prepared for every situation because I've already overthought it and anticipated it. But also it does make me quite indecisive. But eventually I did decide to go into the commerce faculty because I had a passion for maths at the time, and I got a lot of advice from friends and family and just people around me who recommended that I go into commerce. They thought I'd be good in that faculty. And that's what I did. I started off my first year majoring in marketing. I thought I'd be really interested in that because I job shadowed someone within the marketing field in my final year of high school, and I thought it was super interesting. So I decided to major in marketing. However, the way UCT works is in your first year of commerce, basically everyone does the same subject. So it doesn't matter if your major is marketing, accounting, economics, etc. Your first year is the same throughout. And in doing all of those subjects, I did accounting subjects, economics, finance, maths, stats, etc. And in doing all of those, I realized that I actually had an interest or a passion for finance. I was really enjoying the finance subjects I was taking at the time. So in my second year, I actually made the brave decision to change my major and pursue finance going forward. I then studied 3 years in finance, did my thesis in my 4th year, and then in my 4th year, suddenly decided that finance is actually not for me. So yeah, that was quite a big turning point for me. All my peers at the time were going into asset management, portfolio management, investment banking, etc. And I honestly just didn't see myself in a career in any of those fields. So yeah, at that point, I really felt quite lost. I felt like I wasted a lot of time and energy. But looking back at it, I feel like there's no sorry, I feel like it wasn't wasted time. It was definitely a massive learning experience for me. I challenged myself in that experience and I learned a lot about me. I learned to follow my gut, and yeah, it's got me to where I am today. So moving on from that, I then decided, once I decided finance definitely wasn't for me, I started looking for jobs that I thought would relate more to my personality, the type of person I am, things that I thought I'd be good at and where I kind of saw myself in life. And luckily I found this job at IRI. I felt that this job would speak to my passion for maths and the passion for analysis I have, as well as dealing with people, because we are in client services, and then also the creative and marketing aspect as well. So I was very happy when I found this job and luckily got through the interview process, and then started my first day. So on my first day, I was extremely, extremely nervous. I had no idea what to expect. It was my first job. I was coming straight out of varsity as well. So I was genuinely just feeling very nervous and stressed. I had a vague idea of what the company did, but obviously you can never know everything. I did my research beforehand, but still wasn't fully aware of what the day-to-day would be like, what the culture was, how the people were they going to be nice, mean, etc. And what you may notice from me now as well is that when I'm nervous, I tend to speak a lot. So I spent most of my first day hoping I didn't say something stupid. I also felt quite underqualified coming out of varsity with no experience at all straight into a new company. But after my first day, those nerves subsided significantly. We had our first training session and our HR lady took me through what my next couple of months would be like. She showed me all the training processes. And that really calmed me a bit to know that there would be guidance along the way. I wasn't just thrown in the deep end and expected to know what to do in this new job. So that really helped me as well. Yeah, and also what helped me at the company and what I really liked is the fact that I got a mentor on my first day, and he really guided me through the entire process. I was able to ask him questions all along the way, no matter how stupid. He always made me feel validated in my questions. And not just my mentor, everyone else at the company as well was super welcoming, super willing to answer questions and give advice and guidance. And especially for me, because it was my first job, that was a really important aspect. What I did find was a struggle for me going into the working world is the change in routine. So in my 4th year of varsity, I only had about 3 to 4 lectures a day. And then the rest of the time would be working on thesis, and you do that in your own time. So it's very flexible. I'd go to gym in the middle of the day or just go grab lunch with friends, etc. And obviously when you move into the working world, it's just stock standard 9 to 5. So that was quite an adjustment for me. But what did help me through that was my company's flexible hours. So what we allow at my company is you can come in early and leave early, or you can come in later and leave later. And that really helped me balance working with my life a bit more easier, and allowed me time to exercise and see my friends and just kind of adapt to the working world a bit better. So yeah, I've been at the company for 3 years now, and I'm really enjoying it. Yes, there's been a lot of challenges along the way, but it's made me grow as a person. And I feel like every day is a new challenge. There's always something around the corner that's new and exciting. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and enjoying being in the working world. I've also just jotted down a few of my life lessons that I've gotten from my experience. And the first one is, nothing is set in stone. Don't be afraid of changing your mind or changing your decisions, because you need to trust your gut and do what's right for you. So don't be afraid to take that step. Secondly is, think of everything as a learning experience. There are no mistakes. Think of mistakes as challenges to just better yourself and grow. And then thirdly, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think I learned that a bit late in life. I always wanted to do everything by myself. I never wanted to ask for help. And then being at this company where people were so willing to help, it really made me realize that some of the questions I had up until that point could have been answered much quicker had I asked for advice and surrounded myself with people who were willing to give me that advice and help me grow. And then lastly, and probably the most important point that I have, is to always back yourself. You are the captain of your own ship. So know what you want, know yourself, know your worth, know what you deserve, and do everything you can to push towards that point so that you get to the point that you deserve and that's where you want to be at. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I know I do tend to ramble and speak on quite a bit, but thanks for the opportunity and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you for the advices. Thank you so much. I think also the change of routine could be my problem too. But yeah, I'll do it there. Thank you for the advices. For this one, we can just take questions at the end. You can write your questions. Oh, someone has. Okay, wait, so you can ask your question.
It's not a question.
Oh, your hands. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you can just type your question in the chat box or at the end and reference the speaker that you directing your question to. I think next we can have Gifts to also share his own experiences.
So yeah, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, so I'm Gift Mjalose. I'm from Durban, in a township called Umlazi. Yeah, so kind of have a similar story to Kristen, not really. But yeah, I also studied at UCT. I studied a Bachelor of Business Science there. I went into that a little bit blind because, yeah, so I kind of knew from high school that I wanted to do something involving mathematics, but really didn't know what. And being the first one from my family to actually make it to post high school level education, yeah, so kind of didn't have too much mentorship on what I wanted to do, but I kind of had a vague idea that I wanted to do something involving maths, as I said. So I did. I had done well enough in matric to to guarantee like accepted into UCT, I started at UCT with in a program called Educational Development Unit. So that's where they take students from, I would say, underprivileged schools, and they would sort of like introduce you to what what varsity life is. So without really drowning you, like they would actually like ease you in. So in my first year, I was actually registered to do a Bachelor of Business Science in Finance and Accounting. It's not a qualification that I chose. It was kind of chosen for me by the program. Kind of accepted it because it's my way into UCT. But as Kristen said, the way that UCT worked at the time, I'm not sure if it's still the case today, but like when you do your first year, you kind of, I can promise you, do like similar courses across any program. And from there, you kind of get an idea of what you are most good at or something that you may be passionate in. So I remember I did like first year statistics and first year maths, and that's the direction that I wanted to go to. Did some finance, some marketing, but yeah, it wasn't for me that. So when I came back from my second year, I decided to ask the program to change my qualification. I wanted to do a quantitative management, go down the quantitative management stream, which I did. And then in 2014, unfortunately, I hadn't done well enough in my studies to finish the degree. So I got, I would say, academically excluded from the university. So, and that was, yeah, a pretty tough time in my life, because basically, yeah, I had to bear the disappointment of family and friends who were looking forward to, I think, mainly attending my graduation ceremony the following year. But I didn't let that get me down. So I came back home. I like researched ways in which I can actually go back to UCT and finish my degree. And what they had asked me to do was to register with another university and try to improve like my marks. And if there's any improvement there, then they would actually admit me back so that I can actually finish. So I registered with UNISA. I did about 8 courses with UNISA, mainly in economics and statistics. I actually did well there. Like I think I got all first grade passes, and UCT actually admitted me back. But when I came back, I had actually lost my funding to actually finish with UNISA, so with UCT. So I ended up having to finish my degree with UNISA. And yeah, so as I was studying with UNISA, I finished, and I was applying for employment because I was at home, I would say from 2016. And then I applied with a friend of mine who I went to UCT with, was actually working for IRI at the time. And he told me of a job opening in the operations department in IRI. And he said, "Do you want me to actually refer you?" Yeah, so when he sent me the job specs, I read through it and I was pretty terrified because I was unsure whether I can actually do the work that was required. So, but I think, as many speakers before me have said, do it scared. So I told him, yes, you can. Sent him my CV, worked on my CV, and then we put in the application. And in June 2017, I was called for, early 2017, I was called for an interview, which I went and then got the offer of employment. And then I started in June, in July of 2017. I started as a junior client analyst. Given the lack of experience, given the lack of my working experience at the time, I was started off as a junior client analyst in the operations team. So basically it was pretty tough. So my expectation, like as I said, I came in off the bat, I was pretty terrified because I hadn't been in a working environment like that before. Basically, didn't know if I was going to be able to deliver on what was required of me in there. But as Kristen mentioned, like IRI, what happens there is on your first day, you do get like HR training, and then they tell you about all the things that you can expect and how your first few weeks would look in there, which I think is pretty calming because you get to, especially if you're coming in as a junior, not knowing what's going to happen, or basically not knowing what to expect. It gives you a sense of calm to have a little bit of information on how things are going to happen. And and then I was also assigned a mentor. And I remember like a funny story when I was sitting in the HR office with the HR director at the time, who had asked me who my mentor was going to be, if I was assigned a mentor yet. And her name was Tamsin, my mentor. But there's a lady in the office now who is called Tesneem. And I couldn't really pronounce both their names at the time. I was so nervous sitting in the HR office that I actually ended up matching two names up, and I can't remember if I called him Tesmeen or something, but her name was Tamsin. So okay. Yeah, so when I then so in the first few days I was pretty nervous, and one of the things that is valued the most at IRI is training and feedback. So when you do go through your training, they have these feedback sessions where you actually have to put together a presentation of what you have just learned and actually present it back to the people that trained you, as if they're the ones who didn't know what they were talking about, and you do. It's like you kind of explaining to them like the processes, which was nerve-wracking for me because I'm not a very good speaker. I don't like I don't enjoy particularly presenting or speaking. So yeah, it was pretty challenging, but you get to understand, like, once it happens, once you are part of the process, why those things are being done, because this constant feedback loop, which you become on, kind of tells you the things that you need to still learn and the things that, yeah, you can be comfortable that you know already. So going through that process was pretty nerve-wracking for me, but yeah, it helped me. It helped me a lot because, yeah, I don't think if I hadn't gone through that process, I would have been comfortable coming here and actually speaking to you guys. So, so it's actually gotten better. Yeah. So apart from that, like, I think my one advice on what the working world has actually taught me is when you are at the office, like there is, or when you do finally get employed, is there's always opportunities for growth um, within any organization, and it's actually within you to actually take initiative and actually learn and grow. Because in my experience, as I said, I started off as a junior, and when I got comfortable actually doing the work, I got promoted and I actually became a client analyst. But in the past couple of years, like there was a new solution that came in the business, which I think I was amongst the first people to be trained on, and I was pretty keen to be part of that team. And through my constant learning and actually getting people to mentor me without knowing that they're mentoring me, I have a couple of mentors in operations who don't know that they're actually my my mentors. Yeah, from constant learning and like putting your hand up to do stuff, I actually got promoted again because I thought my next step up would actually to be into a senior position. But yeah, I actually skipped that step and actually became a team lead in the team through like the new solution that came in, and through my willingness to keep learning and keep improving myself. And yeah, that would be my own advice is to, when you do get employed, and even before then, like while you're still waiting, like just find areas which you can constantly, things that you can learn to actually improve your skill set. And even when you do get employed, is, you know, don't get satisfied with where you are, and actually just put yourself up, your hand up for things, and continue learning, and that's how opportunities actually come. So yeah, that is my story in a nutshell. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Gift, for that. Your journey was quite an interesting one and funny as well. If anyone has a question, you can just ask on the chat, and also refer the speaker that you are directing your question to. Otherwise, last but not least, we've got Kyle. He's also going to share his own journey. Kyle, you can go ahead. Kyle? I don't see him in the participants. I think maybe we might have lost him or something. Okay. Okay, he has just joined. Let's just wait a few moments. Kyle? Kyle, can you hear me?
Hi there. Sorry, I had an issue with my connection.
Okay, no worries. Ashley, it's your turn to share your own journey as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Kyle Naidu. Firstly, I'd like to say that I'm extremely delighted to be speaking at an event like this. Just a little background on myself. I have an honors degree in chemical engineering, and I graduated at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Growing up, there wasn't many options in terms of getting a career path or diving into something that you were passionate about. There wasn't like much coaching in terms of getting into something that you might enjoy. You had to like dive in for yourself and do some kind of research. In terms of going to university and stuff, there was very little guidance offered by the school that I was going to. And I never really knew anybody that was doing engineering. Like nobody in my community was doing engineering, or nobody even spoke about it. But all that I knew from going to school was I liked things that were very challenging and things that really pushed me to challenge myself. And I wanted to go like the extra mile to ensure that I pushed myself in order to achieve the things that I needed to. So starting off, I started off at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. First year in engineering was a very tough one because transitioning from school to university was a very, very big jump for me. And adjusting was even much more of an issue because I had to learn how to manage my time by myself. I had to learn how to be independent on my own. So I got through my university years. I really enjoyed studying engineering. I wanted to also do medicine, but I really didn't want to put in those kind of years to fully pursue it. But I like that challenge from engineering and from the studies that from the research that I took. So from the research that I did, I actually thought that engineering was more working with chemicals and doing all these kind of experiments, reactions, etc. Going to university actually made me see that it's not that. It's design, working with numbers, working with data, like that whole analytical approach in terms of working at a plant, and less about working in the lab and looking at this chemical or that chemical. It's more on a bigger plant approach. So I took that with me starting off in my final year, while the rest of the people that were studying with me were looking for job opportunities and looking to get into various opportunities. I just chose to focus on my studies because I never really thought that was important for me at the time. I thought, okay, I'll graduate and then I'll start looking for a job. That did bite me a bit because I did have to wait a specific period before I could actually get a job. So that wait was something that I didn't like, but actually got to learn from it because I guess you learn through your own experience as well. So I started off my first job at a marketing company. So me starting off, I thought like engineering and marketing, it's not really making sense at the moment, but it was at a research analyst position. The person that interviewed me thought that I was suitable for the role because I did have a lot of research experience and experience analyzing and working with various sets of data. So I got into that job. I got in working with numbers, doing a lot of data analysis, working with clients. And then I said, hey, this is something that I actually like. So it really put me in a position where I decided to research, and I said, can I get into this field? So I looked at my qualifications, I looked at the things that I learned, and I said, let me try and use what I learned in terms of data throughout my degree to actually position myself to work in the field of data and transition out of being a full-on chemical engineer. So I looked at the qualification that I had, I looked at the different modules that I've done, and I worked that to my advantage in terms of constructing my resume. And I used that as a stepping stone to go forward. So when I started off my first day, it was an internship. So most of the companies that you do start off at as an intern, they don't really have a lot of time to focus on you. So you have to put yourself out there and show that initiative that, yes, you're here to learn, you're willing to grow. So going in on my first day at the Lucid Group as a research analyst, everybody was a little bit too busy to really focus on me that much, apart from the meet and greet with general co-workers, etc. I didn't really know where I fitted in terms of my role. And there was no like training or anything that was provided. So I had to learn as I went through things. It was slightly a bit challenging, but what I can recommend from my first work experience is ask questions. Never be afraid to ask questions in your job, because a lot of the time, we as young people stepping into the work environment, we tend to hold back because we feel that we surrounded by a manager, we're surrounded by people with big positions in companies, and we are afraid to ask questions because we feel intimidated by the type of questions that we do ask. Never be afraid to ask a question, because those kind of things help you to grow as an individual, especially working and growing as you expand your career. Ask your questions, learn. Never be afraid to learn new things, even if it's outside your scope. No matter which company you go to, you're not really going to full on apply your qualification. You're not going to fully apply what you've done. And every single company that you go to, they have procedures and policies that they implement that you are going to need to learn. So going from job to job, it's something that you take with you everywhere that you go. So you have to put in that effort to go to people and ask the questions that you need to and ensure that you learn. It shows your curiosity, and it shows, it puts you in a position for people to notice you. People will notice you and show that you're putting interest in developing yourself and developing your career. So the second job that I started was also an internship after I finished my first one at Research Institute of South Africa. In that, I also applied some of my chemical engineering background, but I also shifted that into research and development. So I knew that I was going to align it into data analysis and understanding data in terms of research and development. So when I started off in research and development, it pushed me to better understand data and analyze it. Thereafter, I joined the Third Eye Accounting Management as a junior analyst, where I further got an opportunity to analyze data. And then I joined Canway Supply Chain Solutions as a processing team leader, which further built on with data. And now currently I'm part of IRI Worldwide as a client analyst, where I'm also working a lot with data and growing in terms of my career. What I can say about starting off at IRI, it was a good opportunity in terms of the mentorship. From the first day that you start, you're assigned a mentor who contacts you on your first day to take you through the different procedures and policies. And there's a lot of different trainings and different feedback sessions whereby they allow you to understand the company as a whole, as apart from localizing what you do in terms of your role. just some parting information in terms of putting yourself out there in terms of your career growth. Firstly would be research. Research the field that you actually wanting to get into, do your full-on research, brand yourself. Brand yourself in the working environment, understand what you want to do and how you're going to go about doing, how you're going to be going about doing it. And network. There's nothing wrong with networking and learning from others, but just be willing to put yourself out there in terms of networking as well. Yeah, that's about it from me. Any questions?
Thank you for that, Kyle. If anyone has a question, you can just put it in the chat box or raise your hand. The aspect of asking question, it's really important. I've learned through experience with that one. Because once in a while, we all feel like, okay, this question is too stupid to ask. Let me just keep quiet. And that's the problem there. Thank you for that. If anyone has a question, you can go ahead and ask. But all in all, I would like to thank all the speakers of today. I see Janine is there from IRI. Hi, Janine. And thank you, everyone. Thank you to the G4G mentors and everyone in attendance.